You close your eyes and fall asleep. 8 hours pass. You wake up. That is sleep. Except it isn't. Not for your body. Not for almost anyone before the past 200 years. For roughly 300,000 years, your ancestors didn't sleep like that. They didn't lie flat on a raised surface for 8 consecutive uninterrupted hours. They didn't wake up one single time, reset their circadian rhythm, and drift back into 8 more hours of identical unconsciousness. That sleep architecture, that particular shape of rest, is new. Shockingly new. So new that your body is probably fighting it right now. Let's talk about what sleep actually looked like before beds, before electricity, before the alarm clock decided that everyone's sleep should start and stop at the same time. Let's talk about the architecture of rest, when the only light source was fire. When historian Roger Akirch started digging through colonial American documents in the 1990s, he found something weird. Diary entries, judicial records, personal letters. They all mentioned a sleep pattern that modern sleep science had completely deleted from existence. People in the 1600s and 1700s didn't say I went to bed. They said, I retired for my first sleep, and then, hours later, I woke for the hour between sleeps, and then I returned for my second sleep. They had a name for the time in between. The watching hour. The middle watch. An hour more of conscious wakefulness in the dead of night. Akirch didn't invent this. He excavated it from the written record. And when he compared those documents to sleep studies done on modern people living without electricity, hunter-gatherers in Africa, indigenous populations, people who live without artificial light, the pattern was unmistakable. Segmented sleep, biphasic sleep, 2 distinct sleep periods, separated by an hour or sometimes 2 a quiet wakefulness. But here's what's important. It wasn't insomnia. It wasn't a disorder. It wasn't restless anxiety about sleep itself. It was normal. It was biological. It was how your ancestors' bodies actually wanted to rest. Sleep scientist Jerome Siegel from UCLA studied the Hadza people in Tanzania, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations on Earth. No beds, no alarm clocks, no electricity, no artificial light except for occasional fires. These are people whose sleep pattern should be closest to what your body evolved for. What he found was surprising. The Hadza slept about as much as modern humans, 6 to 8 hours a night, sometimes a little more. But they didn't sleep like you do. They napped. They dozed. They had no concept of a bedtime. They would lie down when they were tired, sleep for a chunk of time, then wake up and do something. Sit by the fire, work, talk, walk around. Then they'd sleep again. Their sleep was fragmented, scattered across the day and night, not consolidated into one 8-hour block. So here's the thing. Your body probably wants to do this too. It probably still wants to do this. Because your neurobiology, your circadian rhythm, your melatonin cycle, all of that was built over hundreds of thousands of years for a world without electric light. For a world where darkness came completely at sunset and light returned only at sunrise. For a world where staying awake all night wasn't optional. It was sometimes necessary. Sometimes it was survival. Let's reconstruct what a night actually looked like. You're living 50,000 years ago. You've eaten. The fire is burning. It's dark outside the circle of light. You feel tired. You lie down on some furs or dried grass, curled up next to your family. You fall asleep. It's deep sleep. Your body is recovering. 2 hours pass. 3 hours. Then something shifts. Your brain comes partially back online. You're not fully awake, but you're no longer in deep sleep. You open your eyes. The fire is still burning. Someone else might be tending it, a younger member of the group or someone whose sleep phase is different from yours. You're not panicked. You're not anxious. You're just awake. And here's what you do. You stay awake. You sit up. You might talk quietly. You might work on a tool. Scrape a hide, nap a stone blade, braid some cordage by firelight. You might go to the fire and warm yourself. You might check on your children. You might simply sit and think, meditate even. Let your mind wander. There's no pressure to go back to sleep. There's no anxiety. You just exist in this threshold space between sleep and wakefulness. An hour passes, maybe 90 minutes, and then your body starts to feel that pull again, that heaviness. You lie back down. You fall asleep again. And this second sleep is different. Lighter sometimes, sometimes deeper. Different REM cycles, different brainwave patterns. And when you wake from your second sleep, it's because dawn is breaking, or because your body feels rested enough, or because someone needs to be awake, and it's your turn. This is what Thomas Weir discovered in his famous sleep deprivation study in the 1990s. He put people in complete darkness for 14 hours a day for a month. No artificial light, no structured schedule, just told them to rest. After about a week, their bodies naturally fell into a biphasic pattern. First sleep, waking hour. Second sleep. This wasn't learned behavior. It was biological. It was what their bodies wanted to do when external pressures were removed. And here's the thing that modern sleep science is only now starting to admit. The 8-hour consolidated sleep block isn't the natural human sleep pattern. It's the industrial sleep pattern. It's the railroad sleep pattern. It emerged because factories and trains and then offices needed everyone to be unconscious at the same time and awake at the same time. You can't run a factory where people sleep in shifts because they're biphasic. You can't run an assembly line where people wake up at midnight and stay quietly awake for an hour and then go back to sleep. So industrial society invented a new sleep architecture, and we all just accepted it. And now we're anxious about sleep. We lie awake and panic. We take pills. We download sleep apps. We consult sleep coaches. Because our bodies are being forced into a sleep pattern they never evolved for. And then we blame ourselves for being bad sleepers. The irony is that your ancestors weren't necessarily better at sleep. They weren't sleeping peacefully through the entire night, problem-free. They were living with real dangers, predators, cold, illness, starvation. Their lives were precarious. But because their sleep could fragment, because wakefulness in the night wasn't treated as a failure, because there was no external pressure to collapse their consciousness into one convenient 8-hour block, their relationship with sleep was fundamentally different. They woke in the middle of the night, and it wasn't catastrophic. It wasn't insomnia. It was just the watching hour, a time to be awake, to tend the fire, to observe the darkness, to sit with your family, to exist in the strange, alert, quiet space that you probably haven't experienced since you were a child and woke in the night without fear. The second thing your ancestors' sleep architecture tells us is this. You probably don't need as much total sleep as you think you do, but you need it distributed differently. You need fragments. You need permission to nap. You need to accept that staying asleep for 8 consecutive hours isn't a moral achievement. It's a modern artifact, a side effect of electricity and alarm clocks, and the expectation that your consciousness should conform to a factory schedule. And here's the thing that might actually help. Your body probably still remembers. Even now, even after generations of electric light and enforced 8-hour sleep blocks, your body still sometimes wants to wake in the middle of the night. You lie there, your mind turns on, and instead of treating this as a failure, as insomnia, as a sign that you're broken, you could recognize it as a ghost of something ancient. A memory written in your neurobiology. The watching hour, still trying to happen. In fact, if you pay attention, you might notice that right now, even with all of our technology, all of our sleep science, all of our optimization culture, we're starting to accept fragmented sleep again. Parents with newborns, night shift workers, people who nap, the rise of polyphasic sleep schedules among people trying to hack their productivity. We're reinventing segmented sleep, but calling it efficient. But what if we're not hacking anything? What if we're just remembering? The truth is simpler. You don't have to fall asleep and wake up just once. Your body doesn't require an 8-hour block. For hundreds of thousands of years, it didn't operate that way. It operated in fragments, in phases, in a rhythm that matched the cycle of fire and darkness and the particular vulnerabilities and opportunities of a night when the only light came from something you tended yourself. So here's where we end. You close your eyes and fall asleep. But you don't have to think of sleep as a single event anymore. It's a process, a conversation between your body and the night. And if you wake up in the middle of it, if you open your eyes and find yourself conscious and alert at 3 in the morning, you're not broken. You're not failing. You're just doing what humans did for 300,000 years. You're in the watching hour. And that too is sleep.